Today we're tackling the future of information, and whoa boy, it's changing faster than ever.
It really is. It's not just about keeping up with the latest app or platform. It's about understanding how these changes are shaping what we see, how we learn, how we understand the world around us.
Absolutely. And we've got to start with, well, honestly, with everyone's new obsession, TikTok. That eMarketer podcast we share, the one where they talked about how much time people are spending on there. Like, seriously, who has that much free time?
Right. And it's not just teenagers scrolling away in their bedrooms. The podcast really highlighted that millennials and Gen X are spending a surprising amount of time on TikTok, too. Did you know that it's something like 45 minutes a day on average?
45 minutes. I
Yeah.
can barely get myself to go for a 45-minute walk, let alone watch videos of, like, cats riding Roombas.
But that's the thing, right? The article we read by Clive Thompson about the rise of video, it really speaks to how our brains are wired. We're visual creatures. So naturally, video is just a more engaging, more easily digestible way to consume information, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I can read a 5-page recipe or I can watch a 3-minute video and instantly know what to do.
Exactly. And Thompson's point is that video isn't just about passive consumption anymore. It's becoming increasingly conversational. Look at TikTok, right? Duets, response videos, even just the comment sections. It's like this constant back and forth.
Okay, but here's the thing. There's another stat from that podcast that really freaked me out. They said that 18 to 24-year-olds are spending the equivalent of, like, a whole movie, a comedy film's runtime on TikTok every single day.
Wow. That is a significant chunk of time. And while, yes, there's potential for learning, for engagement, it does make you wonder about attention spans. Like, are we all just becoming goldfish in a digital ocean?
Right. And it's like that thing where just because I can now bake a cake after watching a TikTok doesn't mean I've actually learned anything meaningful. It's the asterisk behind our social media use that truly matters, right?
Like, are we using these platforms for good, or are we just letting them use us?
That is the million-dollar question. And honestly, it's one that's only going to get more complicated as we delve deeper into the world of AI and how it's shaping the information we encounter online.
Speaking of complicated, can we talk about AI for a sec? Because that interview with Geeta Johar, whoa, my mind is blown. Yeah, she really gets you thinking, doesn't she? Especially her points about AI, like, it's not just making things easier, it's also making it easier to spread misinformation. And that's kind of terrifying.
Totally. Like, remember that whole deep fake thing? Creating those videos that look so real but are totally made up? And Johar's point about the 3 Ps, publishers, people, platforms. It's like AI is just throwing gasoline on that whole fire.
Oh, for sure. And the scary part is how each P plays into it. You've got publishers, right? People putting information out there. And like Johar said, sometimes it's an honest mistake, but other times it's totally intentional, like straight up propaganda. Then you've got us, the people, just trying to make sense of it all, sharing things without realizing they might be totally bogus.
And then it explodes on social media because, boom, the platforms, they just amplify everything, don't they? It's like a game of digital telephone, but on steroids.
It is. And because AI can now create these super realistic fake videos, write news articles that sound like, a real person wrote them, it's getting harder and harder to tell what's real and what's not. And it's not just us regular folks who have to worry about this stuff. Businesses are freaking out too. Remember Johar talking about how if a company's ad accidentally ends up next to some crazy conspiracy theory video, it could totally tank their reputation.
Oh, yeah. Like, imagine you're, I don't know, a company that makes, like, organic baby food or something, all wholesome and everything, and suddenly your ad is right next to a video claiming vaccines are turning frogs gay or whatever. Talk about a PR nightmare.
It's a huge concern for companies. They don't want to get caught in the crossfire of this misinformation war, which is why, actually, Johar thinks advertisers could be a powerful force for change. Like, if they threaten to pull their money from platforms that don't clean up their act, well, those platforms are going to have to listen, right?
Because money talks.
Right.
Especially in the tech world. So you're saying that maybe, just maybe, AI could actually be part of the solution here.
Yep.
So if advertisers are the ones with the power here, what about governments? Can't they, step in and do something?
Well, that's a tricky one. Johar talked about how some countries are starting to implement stricter rules around online content, especially when it comes to things like hate speech, disinformation, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but isn't that a slippery slope?
Yeah.
Who gets to decide what's true and what's not?
Exactly. And here in the U.S., there's the whole free speech debate. Remember, Johar mentioned that European law. the Digital Services Act. It holds platforms responsible for spreading misinformation. They can even get hit with some pretty hefty fines.
Oh, wow. So they're serious about it over there.
They are. But Johar also pointed out that similar laws here in the U.S., they'd probably face a ton of legal challenges, First Amendment rights and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh,
It's a tough nut to crack. So if the government's hands are tied and advertisers are, well, mostly worried about their bottom line, what are we supposed to do? Just like become hermits and live in a Wi-Fi free zone?
Tempting, right. But Johar actually had a surprisingly, I don't know, hopeful take on this. She talked a lot about the power of consumer awareness. Like, the choices we make every day, they matter.
You mean like being more careful about what we click on, what we share?
Exactly. If we're more discerning about the content we consume, if we just take a beat before we hit that retweet button, ask ourselves, wait, is this legit? Where's this information even coming from?
Okay, so being more mindful, basically. Like not just scrolling mindlessly, but actually thinking about why we're online in the first place and how it makes us feel.
Yes. Does this website, this video, this post, does it make me feel informed, inspired, connected to something bigger than myself? Or am I just spiraling down a rabbit hole of anxiety and negativity?
Which, let's be honest, we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get sucked in.
It really is. And that's why ultimately it comes down to cultivating that healthy sense of skepticism, that intellectual humility that Johar was talking about. Like, none of us have all the answers, and the truth is usually way more complicated than any headline or tweet can convey.
So basically, we've got to engage our brains before we engage our thumbs. Got it.
Precisely. Question everything, explore different perspectives, be open to the possibility that you might be wrong about something.
Which, let's be real, can be a tough pill to swallow sometimes, especially online, where everyone seems to think they're an expert on everything.
It's about embracing nuance, embracing complexity, and admitting when we don't have all the answers. That's how we navigate this crazy digital landscape without losing ourselves in the process.
Well said. And on that note, to our listeners out there, stay curious, stay skeptical, and please, for the love of all that is good in the world, don't believe everything you see on the internet.
And hey, if you do come across any particularly mind-blowing TikToks about the future of information, good or bad, send them our way. We're always up for a good digital adventure.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, stay informed out there.